The Chicago Bulls fall to the Boston Celtics 115-101. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's loss. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we're talking about the key takeaways from tonight's loss against the Boston Celtics. And so I always like to start with just really the points that describe this game. And so I just have two. And so the first one being that this was a terrible first half for the Chicago Bulls because they really started off very slowly. They turned the ball over 7 times in 14 minutes. The Celtics were able to score 13 points off of those turnovers. It got much worse as the game went along. The Bulls shot 15% from three. They didn't have any free throws made in the first quarter. And then it was like an 8-2 second chance advantage early on for the Celtics. That also got worse in the second quarter. The Bulls would miss 12 straight three-pointers. They were scoreless for about 4 minutes in the second quarter. There was no player movement. It was very stagnant on offense. The Bulls would go on to have a 2 of 21 mark from three, I think, at that point. And then also, too, they did not get their first free throw attempts made until the second quarter at the 4:34 mark, and that was by Issac Okoro. And so this was a very slow start for the Chicago Bulls and perhaps their worst half. And so next, the Bulls got crushed in second chance points and rebounds. And so we're going to take a look at that inside the team box score numbers in a moment. But man, the Celtics really took it to the Chicago Bulls as far as getting the offensive rebounds. At one point in this game, the Celtics had a 24-5 advantage in second chance points. And so I really think that that was essentially the game. Like, the Bulls had a terrible first half. The Celtics continued to taking it to the Bulls, and they just played with much more energy as far as getting to these rebounds, the 50-50 balls, and they made the Bulls pay today. And so, next, I wanted to go ahead and jump into the starters and the bench here and just take a look at each player out there and their performances today. And so, starting with, I think, the player that was one of our best performers on the floor today, and that was Modest Buzelis. I thought that Modest Buzelis really did a good job as far as just mixing it up. And I thought he was pretty aggressive for the most part. So 26 points, a -6 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 2 turnovers. He had 1 block shot. He did have 2 assists in this game. He had 3 rebounds, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 3 of 4 from downtown, and 9 of 12 from the field in 31 minutes. And so, yeah, Modest Buzelis, man, great activity because initially he hit his first 3-point shot. I thought that he had a nice little cut for a layup. And at one point, he had 9 of the Bulls' 16 points. And so he was off to a great start. He had a really nice dunk in the fourth quarter. And he also had a nice and one as well. And I just like the fact that we're seeing this from Modest Buzelis, especially with this team just being shorthanded with the injuries. I'm loving the fact that he's stepping up. And again, I think that he continues, to give, just a lot of fans hope moving forward that, he can really become something special here. And so I think he had a solid night tonight. Next, Nikola Vucevic. And so with Vooch, look, his night was very interesting because in the first half, it just looked like Vooch was going to put up a dud for this team because he only had 3 shot attempts, and I don't even think he made any of those. And so he had 15 points where he finished with that, a -10 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 2 turnovers. He had 1 steal. He had 7 assists and 15 rebounds in this game. He was 3 of 5 from deep, 6 of 14 from the field in 36 minutes. And I just think that with Vooch, he really turned it on, especially in the fourth quarter. And so I got to give Vooch a ton of credit, man, because it just did not look good at all. And next, Issac Okoro. And so with Issac Okoro, he really struggled tonight. And so I will give him credit. He was the first Chicago Bull to get to the free throw line and make the free throws. So I'll give him credit there, 2 of 2 there. But everything else for him was a tough night. And so you see he was 1 of 7 from the field, 25 minutes, 5 points, a -6 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 1 block shot and 3 rebounds. And so, again, just a tough night for Issac Okoro. And next, Kevin Huerter. And so Kevin Huerter did get the start today in this game. And so he had some nice runners. I did like that from Kevin Huerter. I think that you see the activity with him and everything else, but he just really struggled from downtown today, just like a lot of the Chicago Bulls. And so 8 points. He was a -12 in the plus-minus box score. He had the 3 rebounds. He was 0 of 4 from deep and 4 of 9 from the field in 20 minutes, but did start there for the Bulls. Next, Tre Jones. And so Tre Jones, he was also 0 of 3. And so it looked like it was going to be a tough night for him. He was able to get some things going. He started to get a couple runners and things like that, but he had 10 points. He was a -7 in the plus-minus box score. He had the 1 turnover, 4 assists in this game, and 5 rebounds. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 0 of 1 from deep, and 4 of 7 from the field in 23 minutes. And so Tre Jones, I think a solid game out there. Again, just a tough offensive night for him. Next, Patrick Williams. And so Patrick Williams, look, he continues to struggle now. And so he had the back-to-backs. He was in double figures, and then, it was the next game out. It didn't go so well. And then here's another night where Patrick Williams doesn't play well. And I find it interesting that he only got the 10 minutes. And so that should, also maybe indicate something here that Patrick Williams didn't get extended minutes even with the injuries out there. And so Patrick Williams, 2 points, a -5 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 2 rebounds. He was 0 of 2 from deep, 1 of 4 from the field in 10 minutes of play. Next, Dalen Terry. And so Dalen Terry, again, I think I love the energy that I always get with him and Julian Phillips. And so 3 points out there. He was 1 of 1 from downtown, 1 of 1 from the field in 5 minutes. Felt like he should have got some more. Next, Julian Phillips. And so Julian Phillips, I like the 3-point shots that I saw him knock down out there. I think that he was out there like kind of just getting into just hitting the boards, trying to tip the ball out to people and everything else. And so I like the energy that I saw there from Julian Phillips in this game. And so 6 points, a -9 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 2 rebounds. He was 2 of 4 from deep, 2 of 5 from the field in 13 minutes. And so good to see that he's certainly getting some minutes there. The next, Lachlan Olbrich. And so Lachlan Olbrich does get onto the floor. I think that he certainly should have got onto the floor, the last game out, especially since Jalen Smith is out. Then you don't have Zach Collins. You might as well go ahead and put Lachlan Olbrich out there. He's playing very well with the Windy City Bulls. And so in this game, he had 2 assists and he had 2 rebounds as well. He was a -4 in the plus-minus box score. He was 0 of 1 from deep in 12 minutes. And so he got a good look there from the corner, just did knock it down. And so next, Javon Carter. And so I thought that Javon Carter is the pro's pro. He came in ready to shoot the basketball. At one point, he was 2 of 3 from downtown, kind of gave the Bulls a little bit of a spark. And so I got to give Javon Carter a lot of credit there. And so 6 points, a -1 in the plus-minus box score. He had 1 assist. He had 1 rebound, 2 of 5 from deep, and 2 of 6 from the field in 12 minutes of play. Next up, Coby White. And so, look, Coby White was a surprise. I did not expect for Coby White to play. I thought that it was going to be a little bit of time before we saw Coby White, especially with that right calf tightness, but he was out there. I think he was on a minutes restriction. He came off the bench, but he had 5 points, a -5 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 4 turnovers in this game. He did have 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He was 1 of 5 from deep, 2 of 7 from the field in 25 minutes. And so for me, I thought that Coby White just didn't look himself. I just didn't see that burst from him. I didn't see like that just the handle and the craftiness. And so, I'm hoping that Coby White is good and he's just not rushing it to get back out there because he just didn't quite look himself there. Next, Ayo Dosunmu. And so Ayo Dosunmu was another bright spot for the Chicago Bulls in this game. And I thought that with Ayo, look, he did a terrific job as far as continuing to get downhill. He did get the shot blocked a couple times, but still, I like the fact that he's putting the pressure on the defense and he's also showing the confidence to shoot shoot the three balls. He knocked down a couple, and he also gave the Bulls a spark or two and actually got them, helped get the team back within 11 too. So he was fighting out there throughout the game. So 15 points, a -4 in the plus minus box score. He did have one block shot. That was a nice block shot. And Kevin Huerter had a nice one too as well. 5 assists. And he had 3 rebounds as well, 3 of 7 from deep and 6 of 13 from the field in 28 minutes. And so some solid minutes there from Ayo Dosunmu. And so, again, just some of the key takeaways, again, just from the players out there. I thought that Vooch was certainly a bright spot for us. Certainly feel like Buzelis was a bright spot as well. I think that we continue to see the growth there, I should say. So I don't think that Buzelis is going to win the most improved award, but still, I think that he's certainly showing the growth. And then Ayo Dosunmu continues to show growth off the bench here. And so next, just looking at the team scores or the team box score here and taking a look at the numbers. And so, we'll start with the field goal percentage and then we'll work our way down to the rebounds and everything else, because like I said, that was a key part of this game. So, just starting with the field goal percentage, for the Bulls, you see that they got up to 44% in this game. The Celtics at 40%. The three-point percentage got up to 35. Again, it was a terrible start for the Bulls. Then the Celtics, they were hot from deep, and so 38% for them. Next, the free throw shooting. And so the Bulls did get to the free throw line 10 times. They would shoot 90% there. The Celtics, 11 of 13 from the free throw line, 85%. And then this was the stat, and so the rebounds. And so you see that the Celtics 20-6 advantage on the offensive boards. And so just the amount of opportunities the Celtics got with those second chance opportunities, they really took advantage of that. 25-22, the Bulls lead in assists, 7-2 with the Celtics leading in the steals, 4-4 with the block shots. And so they're tied there. 13-8 with the turnovers. You see that the Bulls gave up 19 points off of those turnovers, and the Celtics just 8 with the fast break points, 15-14 with the Celtics leading there. Points in the paint, 36-34. So that number, I think, is pretty low for the Chicago Bulls, even though that they led in this game. And so just not enough paint touches out there. Then next, you see that the largest lead there for the Boston Celtics was 23, and the Bulls had an early lead of 3. And so anyway, that was the key takeaways here from this game. You guys let me know in the comments what your key takeaways were from this tough loss against the Boston Celtics. Again, this is just, I think, again, it's just probably one of the worst halves that I've seen with this team. And then also too, man, just you got to get to the boards and just eliminate the second chance opportunities there. And so a tough one here for the Chicago Bulls, as they fall to the Boston Celtics. And so hopefully they can continue to hang in there and get some players back. And so hopefully Coby White can get back into rhythm. Hopefully we get a chance to see Josh Giddey and then also to Jalen Smith and Zach Collins come back sooner rather than later. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, look, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.